Yeah, so the topic talk that this is crucial conversations, and crucial conversations. Really, that title comes from a book, and it's a book by one of the names is Patterson. There's like four authors. You can look that up. It's not maybe it's a great book, but it's not maybe the easiest to read because it's fairly long and you got to think about it. So I'm going to give you the 10-minute version, and but if you look around on the internet and Google and stuff, there's quite a lot of shorter resources and videos about crucial conversations. So there are three characteristics to define a crucial conversation. It's when the stakes are high. In other words, it's somehow it feels important, this matter. When opinions are different, they vary, there are different opinions. But the thing that you'll particularly notice is that there are strong emotions associated with this conversation. Now, I think that beginning to recognize when my emotions are strong, what's going on there, is really important for us as leaders to become self-aware of our emotional state, of where our heart is, pay attention to that. And so as you're doing that, you'll notice some things that happen. So maybe like sometimes my palms will begin to sweat, my heart will begin to beat rapidly. I can start to feel, perhaps I'll clench my teeth or feel a bit angry. And basically these are the very, kind of foundational human reactions to some kind of threat. And that can be to fight or to flee, fight or flight, to either get ready to fight or to run away. And yeah, those are just such normal human ways of responding. And yet we can do that with our words, with the way that we talk with each other. So it could be either silence is one way of saying it. We go silent, we go quiet, and withdraw, or violence is another way. So if you're thinking about silence, for example, some of the things that we do could be sarcasm. We shut down the conversation with a sarcastic comment. Sometimes we're just like really sweet, really nice, and we're sugarcoating the thing so that we can avoid talking about the real issue, and we just kind of cover it over with being really nice. That's another way of silence or avoiding, fleeing the conversation. And then we can just withdraw and just pull out and leave in some way, leave the room, check out of the conversation, ignore what's going on. And you might find as a person or as a leader that you tend towards silence or towards violence. I'm not talking about physical violence here. I'm talking about sort of maybe verbal, emotional violence. So some things that we do in that way are to label, and we seek to control the conversation by perhaps telling the other person what they feel, what they think, what. So you're putting your story of what happened onto them, and you're seeking to control and maybe even attack and tell them. And that's how things like "you always do this" or "you never," you're putting, or "you make me so angry," you're putting onto them your own feelings, your own view, your own story, and seeking to control it. So we're not usually just one or the other. Depending on the relationship, we might be more of the silence or more of the violence. So how do you do with this? Because I think learning to get a much better at crucial conversations is a vital leadership skill. It can just turn the tide of a relationship, of a direction, of a team or a community. And if you avoid them, they don't just go away. And if you attack, other people will go away. They will leave. So as I first of all said, know your heart and try to create a safe space for this conversation. So how do you do that? You want to think about the environment where you're meeting. You want to think about how can we come around, if you're already having the conversation and it's getting tense, how can we come around to say there's a shared sense of mutual purpose in this, a shared sense of mutual respect. And you may need to affirm that and repeat that in the midst. Now, a danger is that you either go for only the truth or only the relationship. So, or only honesty is maybe another way of saying it, or only the relationship. And if you just focus on one and not the other, you're not really doing the best job in a crucial conversation. You're paying both attention to both the relationships and speaking, the truth in love is one way that we say it, or being honest about your perspective on that. But you need to give space for the other person to also tell their story. Now, this is the thing. Usually we've maybe observed some behavior or heard some words, or we've heard sometimes from somebody else, or, watched something that's happened. But then we create a story of meaning around why and what was going on. And usually the stories we create, we fill in where there's a vacuum in our observation or knowledge, and that story makes sense to us. And often then emotions are strongly attached with that story because we've given the why the person did that or didn't do it, why they said that or didn't say that. So you need to back up and recognize, first of all, I've got an emotional story I'm telling that is framing this situation. And I need to back up. And first of all, back up maybe to the facts, what I actually observed, and share that. And maybe your feelings, admit your feelings as well. So a simple way that many of you will know would be to just back up and say, I felt this way when I saw this. Can you tell me, what was going on, or what's your perspective on this? All right. So then you're listening to the other person tell their story. So if you're backing up and becoming aware of how am I talking? How am I relating to this? How do I feel? Identify my feelings. Maybe even you need to take a moment to identify, do you feel jealous? Do you feel irritated? Do you feel, how do you actually feel? Do you feel that you were dishonored? Or do you feel hurt in some way? And then to recognize you've got a story with this, maybe share your story, but maybe ask for the other person to listen to theirs first, particularly if there's a power difference in this crucial conversation. And so you're becoming self-aware. What are you yourself saying, feeling, doing, saying? You're giving time. Even, sometimes you don't have time to prepare. So you've got just maybe a few seconds, but even giving yourself 6 seconds to be quiet and become aware. I often will shoot off a prayer to the Lord. Oh, Lord, help me. I know I don't know what to say here. I don't know how to help this situation. Help me, and help me be aware of what's going on in my heart, in me. As I said before, I'm kind of recapping a little bit. Don't choose between honesty and friendship. Don't choose between honesty and relationship. You're going for both in a crucial conversation. And then make sure you're able to separate the facts from the fictional story you've created. Now, I'm not saying your story might have some truth in it. It does, usually. But there's also lots of things we filled into that story. And then work out that mutual purpose. What do you really want to come out of this? You're having maybe a conflict with your team colleague, but you actually do want to have a good relationship. You do want to see this resolved. You do want to see the work get done, perhaps that hasn't gotten done, or you both perhaps really want to see. We had to talk about, we really all want to see new apostolic teams developed in our community. Now, we have different opinions about what's the best way to do that, what are the best structures, that sort of thing. But we actually have that mutual purpose when we began talking about it. And so that was helpful for us to come to that shared purpose and mutual respect to create the safe space for the dialogue. Okay, so I'm going to just pause there and ask if there are any questions that you've got.